Hello class, it's Professor Streeter. I'm in my office today, and I'm going to show you what's going on in week 3 on our D2L shell, looking at the week 3 content module and walking you through the assignments for the week. We're going to be talking about meaning and the pursuit of meaning. That's our shift. We had been looking at questions about happiness and what's involved in the pursuit of happiness, but is happiness really all that matters? Or do we also want our lives to be meaningful? And so what's involved in the pursuit of meaning? What makes a life more or less meaningful? What are we doing when we're seeking meaning in life? That's the big topic of the discussion for this week. And it's the center of Susan Wolf's article that we read for this week. Okay, let me put myself in the corner of the screen. There is a picture of Susan Wolf. She's a living philosopher, and this is from a podcast that she did on this question. What is it? What is meaning in life? What is it that we value when we value meaning? So we'll be thinking about that, what she has to say about meaningfulness. The goal for the course this week, or for our work together this week, is to continue building on our skills of reading for argument. I'm thinking about what we're doing when we're focusing on the structure of an argument in a text. And then beginning to draw more thematic connections between the topic of the good life that we introduced in week 1 and the pursuit of meaning and the pursuit of happiness and the relationship between the pursuit of meaning and happiness. And last week we began thinking about this debate between subjectivists and objectivists, and that becomes more central to this week's readings as well, with Hooker and Wolf, who are both defending a more objective approach to welfare or well-being, whereas Heathwood is more of a subjectivist. So we'll be thinking about the difference between subjective and objective accounts of well-being. I asked you to reread, in addition, this short piece by Kwame Anthony Appiah. Here's a picture of him playing chess in his home. Another living philosopher. He writes in a weekly ethics column in the New York Times. And I want to begin thinking about ethical issues that matter to you. The short piece he wrote presents a view about what should matter to us, and he has a few issues that he focuses on that he thinks we all should be caring more about. But this is a task for you as we move through the semester and get closer to choosing an essay topic for your second essay. And for the second essay, I want you to find an ethical issue that matters to you and write about it, do some research. So reading Appiah will help you begin that process of coming up with a topic to write about at the end of the semester, or in the second half of the semester. Okay, it's never too soon to start thinking about that. Okay, what to do this week? So we're reading the 3rd and the 4th chapter in Schaefer-Landau's The Fundamentals of Ethics. And this is really where he gets into a presentation of the subjective account of welfare that we saw in Heathwood and shows some of the attractions of it, then raises some questions about that approach and some objections to the subjectivist approach in chapter 4. Hooker, The Elements of Well-Being, and Wolf, Happiness and Meaning. These are 2 essays from the ethical life. Both of them are defending, as I suggested, a more objective approach to well-being. Okay. I've shared some videos. I'll show you how to find those in a minute. You click here, but and a slideshow for this week. Today it's Monday, so start thinking about a question or a comment that you want to share with the class in the Monday feedback. So you click that and it'll take you to that discussion. And then our weekly discussion topic is this week to think about Wolf's essay, Happiness and Meaning. So read it if you haven't done so already. And there's a 2-part question. And this is taken from the questions at the end of the chapter, the questions that Schaefer-Landau raises at the end of each chapter. This week I'm focusing on his questions. So first, the mythical Sisyphus. This is a story from ancient Greek mythology, and it's one of the examples that Wolf mentions. forms the center of her thinking about this, or it focuses her thinking about this question of meaning. She gives you the example of Sisyphus, who was condemned by the gods to roll a huge boulder up a hill and then watch it inevitably fall to the bottom. Then he had to repeat that over and over again to eternity. That was his punishment for the life that he lived. Anyway, imagine that this is just the life that Sisyphus prefers for himself. Imagine that over time he comes to prefer this life of rolling the boulder up the hill every day and watching it fall back down. And imagine he's happy with his fate. He accepts his fate and he's happy with it. He enjoys it. Suppose that's true of Sisyphus. Why does Woolf think that such a life would nevertheless be meaningless? Even if Sisyphus was happy with his life, he wouldn't be living a meaningful life. Why does she think that? Do you agree? And why or why not? That's the first question. Then, after you've thought about that, what does the myth of Sisyphus tell us about the nature of the good life? Is there more to the good life than just being happy with your fate? Accepting the fate that you find yourself in? Is there more to the good life than enjoying your life and preferring it and satisfying your desires? Are there more objective measures of well-being, or what makes a person's life go well? Right? For example, does a person's life have to be meaningful in order for it to be going well? So what are those objective measures? If you think there are some, how do we identify them? Okay. Or maybe you think that well-being is entirely subjective, which is what Heathwood argues. Right? My life is going well to the degree that my desires are being satisfied. That's a more subjective measure of well-being. So explain your answer. That's the discussion for this week. You again need to read Woolf first, but once you've kind of worked through that essay, begin sharing your thoughts here in the discussion forum. Again, the discussion is due sometime this week, but the sooner you post something, right, the sooner other students will see what you're thinking, and you can go back in and reply to your classmates and engage in more of a conversation about this topic. Okay. So the second quiz is also due this week, and as I wrote here, it's a little longer, 15 questions. 11 of those questions are about the Heathwood reading that you wrote about for your first homework. Then there's a couple questions about Nozick's experience machine, which we looked at in week 1, and a couple questions about Mill's hedonism that we looked at in weeks 1 and 2. So the quiz is asking you to look back at 3 readings that we've already discussed, or you've already thought about and read, focusing mostly on the Heathwood piece. So take notes, look at your summary that you already wrote about it, and work through the structure of the argument. The quiz kind of points to specific moves that Heathwood is making. Again, you have 2 chances, so if you struggle the first time round, take it a second time. And that's due by Sunday of this week. Some of you have already completed it. It was open on the 12th. So that is the second quiz. Okay. I will talk, there's a reference down here to the essay 1. I will talk about that on Wednesday. I'm planning to have a class, a virtual class on Wednesday, and we'll get to know each other a little bit. I'll share a Google link with you, a Google Meet link, and you can join at 11 o'clock on Wednesday morning for about an hour. I will have some slides to share with you and some comments to share with you, but the goal for the first meeting is to hear from you, get to know each other a little bit. If you have questions, I can begin to answer them. We can have a conversation. Okay. And so I'll also introduce the first essay topic on Wednesday at the live session that I'll record, and I'll be sharing with you the prompt for the first essay topic. Don't start stressing about that right now, but begin thinking this week. We've been reading a lot and talking a lot about the good life. What would you like to write about? Is there an idea or a thesis or an argument that you would like to make about the nature of the good life? And think about how it relates to some of the readings that we've been doing. Okay. Again, we'll return to that on Wednesday. There's nothing to turn in this week for your first essay, but I want you to start thinking about it this week. Okay. All right. Let me go back up here. So we've looked at the quiz that's due on Sunday, the discussion for this week, and the weekly feedback. Now, the last thing is the homework that was assigned the first week. That's due this week. Let me click to remind you what that looks like. Whoops. Viewing it as a student would. So the homework, number 1, looks like this. I asked you, remember, to identify and think about a story of injustice from the recent news cycle or from past history or from your own experience, and write about that story. What makes that story a story of injustice? Where did you find the story? What's the source for the story? Why do you think that that's a reliable source? And then what lessons do you draw from the story about the nature of justice, or about how we as a society should be responding to this problem of injustice? Okay. So again, the aim is to write about a page and to include any bibliographical information, that the citation for the sources that you're citing, double-spaced, about a page of writing. Okay, and submit that to this folder. You go down here, and if you want to add a comment, you can, but just click submit as a PDF file or as a Word document. Okay, it needs to be downloaded here. Okay. All right, let's go back then to the weekly content page. Picture of Susan Wolf. The last thing I want to share with you here, I have made some videos, and here if you click this web page, it's listed here in the tasks. I would like you to watch the videos and think about the slideshow this week. You click this web page and it takes you here. Remember we had some slideshows and videos from last week, so I've linked it here as well. But for this week, week 3, here's the slideshow link, and then a 3-part video about the good life. And these videos walk you through some of Heathwood's argument, his defense of subjectivism. And then part 2 shifts to Hooker and Wolf on more objective measures of well-being. So these 2 parts of the video go into more depth about the debate between subjectivists and objectivists about the nature of the good life, the nature of well-being. Okay, and what hinges on that debate, what's interesting about it. And then the 3rd video focuses on Wolf and the search for meaning, which again forms the focus of our discussion topic for this week. Okay, so I think all these videos should help you think about all of our readings for the week and the discussion forum. Okay. If you have any questions, now's a good time to sign up for office hours. You can do that by clicking the Calendly link and scheduling a virtual meeting with me on Google Meet. You can also come to class on Wednesday at 11. I will send you the invitation right now, and I hope to see you there. Okay, that's all for now.